So one of the standard ways we attack the Caro-Can defense, as well as the French defense, is to play something similar to what Emmanuel Asker called in Common Sense and Chess the fantasy variation. The fantasy variation is no good. It's easily defeated, but you have to know how to do it. And finding it over the board is a real problem, and it's an extremely old variation that isn't seen very often. It seems to render, some of the best ways of dealing with it actually are declining it. So the whole idea of this is to open the F file, and if you can open the F file, that allows us to castle either king or queen side, preferably king side, where your rook is already in a half open file. And you're basically taking the Caro-Can player out of his comfort zone. So let's look at the game. We'll start the engine. Once again, this is about a 2200 blitz player. That's where you have the chance to decline it. There are a variety of ways. A lot of people push. Knight takes f3. Okay, so the real key takeaway here is bishop to f5. Bishop to f5 solves a lot of trouble for black. It puts the bishop on the right diagonal. It allows black to continue his development and solve his one problem, which will be a dark squared or light squared bishop. So now it says bishop to d3 is the right move, and I usually don't play that. I have played that. It says bishop to f4 is good. So I play bishop to c4 here, and the reason why is my attempt is to seal in his light squared bishop, because if he comes out and pins, then we have bishop takes pawn check followed by knight d5 check. A lot of players seem to go for that. However, once again, he can just play bishop to f5, and for some reason players don't do that. They just intuitively don't go for that move. So we play this, and the computer's saying he can get a solid advantage with bishop to f5, which he doesn't do. He seals in. And now we just go about our normal development. Said he should have gotten lots of things here. We're just going to castle. So the takeaway here is that we have a lot of development. He's got two pieces developed. We got nearly connected rooks. We're castled. We have all that for a pawn, and yet the computer says we're down. So the interesting maneuver here is queen to e1 to either g3 or h4, and then we discover that our bishop on c4 is misplaced anyway. The other thing is moving our other rook over to d1 as part of the formation. I move queen to d2, which is not the preferred move. It says he should just protect his knight, but he decides to go to d5 for exchanges. Caro-Can players love going to d5 for exchanges, especially where's that pinned knight. But notice he's moved the same piece twice now, so it would be nice again to have our bishop on d3, which it's not, and we can get equality by playing bishop takes e7. However, we want to complicate, so I play knight takes knight. Now it says simply c takes back is the right move. Kind of an interesting idea. Huh? He plays e takes back, which renders a similar situation. Now bishop to d3, white emerges with a small advantage, and the correct move is f6 here, although it does say h6 appears to be playable, which I think is idiotic and suicide both. So f6 seems to be the right move. He makes a move. Now you look at this computer evaluation here. Now, this is one of the renowned chess analysis computers of the world saying that f6 is now required as opposed to h6. Okay, so now we play bishop takes h6. Then his idea was he was simply going to decline taking that bishop by moving c5. Go for pawn parity. After all, it is possible to play if you leave those pawns alone on the king side. So he takes, and the game's over. You notice what just happened is it rapidly escalated from being like 1.5 up to 3.5 up. This is a standard sacrifice that ends all games pretty much in this fashion. It's hard to recommend anything better. So, you can see how I misplayed this attack. It says simply I have a much more forcing line in queen to g6 check. I move the knight, which allows him a defense, which is bishop to f6. So, I still believe white has a winning line here after bishop to f6. I'm ashamed to say that is true, that I did play that. He moves the bishop to the wrong place. Now we get the right check in and bridge the rook, and the game's over. Since he pushed, which is kind of interesting, trying to stop the h3 check. So if we go back for a second and see what would have happened, obviously the check first, followed by, let's study this attack for a second. Okay, he moves f5. We're going to add a variation here, a check, king to h8, and now what's the right move? Knight to e5. Very similar formation to what happened in the actual game. But now we have f4 on f7 and a winning advantage. So go back to the beginning of this variation, and instead we move the main line, which is what we played in the game, and he moves bishop to f6. Now it's saying now it's saying we do have a winning advantage. Bishop to f6 isn't going to work. It's preferring queen to d6. So let's see what its initial thought was with the bishop to f6. What is really going on there? Well, here's the sag. Rook takes f5. Okay. So bishop takes back, queen to e7 to stop the mate on h7, and now rook to f1. So my feeling that we had a crushing final attack is completely correct. How does he stop this? Well, he doesn't. We bridge the rook no matter what. So is this really unclear here? Let's see. What would happen, for instance, if he moved rook to g7 or just bishop to g7? Well, to begin with, this rook's hanging. It says knight to d7 is his best defense. Let's try it. Computers attack so beautifully. Look at all these threats. So humans don't find these really well. Okay. Unbelievable stuff. Now look at these mate threats. So basically, this is an attack like an attack I've never played. It's just a beautiful looking thing. But, you know, my instinct was correct, and if I had moved bishop to, if he had moved bishop to f6, I would have had to try to find this. So that's the end of this particular interesting Blackmar-Diemer formation.